earlobe, drag you in front of your mama, and smack you on your nubby little head. Good morning, Sergeant.
That's what we do during the
That's what you do. Where's your mama? Where's your mama? It's good getting you back in the studio again. Are you still on vacation? Did you take a day off of vacation to come in?
Say I'm on vacation.
Because you are always on vacation. Every time
I wake up in this uniform.
and nothing on your page other than your dogs, your camper, the lake.
To the untrained eye, it may appear that I'm not working, but in that camper, I also have this computer right in front of me all the time, and it's always.
Does it drive your wife crazy when you do that?
No, she works more than I do.
Oh,
she's on the phone really the whole time. So it's.
So this is the 29th. There's only 2 days left in the year. How are you going to cram in 6 weeks of vacation in the next 2 days?
Very carefully. Stay up all night and enjoy it. No, I'll be working. What is today? Friday? Say Friday?
Today is Friday.
Yes, it was a short week, a 3-day work week, and then we have another 3-day weekend.
Nice.
Most people do, but when our guys and girls on the road, they have to work these holidays.
Yeah. I was going to ask, is this all hands on deck?
It is, and we can go right into that with Operation Care that started on the 22nd of December and goes through the 1st. And we're looking for the usual, the speeders, seatbelt violations, and other traffic violations. But the main things throughout this holiday season, we get the DWIs uptick. And what talked off the air, I always talk about going out for New Year's Eve and everything. I always tell people it's amateur night, we call it, because the people who don't normally drink will end up drinking that night and think they're okay. And they do stupid things and drive the wrong way. And when you do see them at a crash or arrest them for DWI, and they say, I swear I haven't drank in years, when they really haven't. They go to a party and they drink 2 drinks because they're not acclimated. Exactly. So they really don't know their level of intoxication because they think they feel good and they're good enough to drive. And unfortunately, it ends otherwise. But during last year's Operation Care, during this time, there was 108,400 citations and warnings were issued. And these included over 9,000 for speeding, 950 seatbelt and child restraint violations, 2,300 citations for driving without insurance. And that's probably all in Bell County. Just kidding. Bell County. But it's true. Nobody over there has insurance. Trust me. 731 felony and fugitive arrests, and 452 citations for moving over and slowing down. So remember, they're all out there. And yesterday when I was out and about, I stopped and helped the guy who had overheated over at Salado on the interstate, and I stopped my car on the side of the road, lights on, everything, and people there were still many that were not slowing down.
By.
And he was more concerned about his car, and I said, look, let's step over here, because as you can see, these people are not pulling over and slowing down. And I said, grab your jugs, jump in my car. We went down to this barbecue place, filled it up with water, and brought him back around. He was so shocked that we do that. I said, yeah, we do that. We don't just write tickets and put people in jail. We are here to help.
And it's funny you say that, because I was in Austin years ago, and out on 2222, back when it was a 2-lane road. I don't know if you remember that far back.
That year you were champion at the drag races, right?
Yeah.
The RuPaul drag races.
Yeah, that was Ken.
Spirit of 72.
I ran out of gas, and APD officer stopped and took me up to the road to get to the gas station to get some gas there. And I've never had an Austin cop stop me for anything other than to screw my day up. But yeah.
But yeah, we usually carry an empty gas can in the car, because when somebody runs out of gas, you go to a gas station, those gas cans are marked up like $22.
Yeah.
At Walmart, they're $4.99. So they really try to stick it to them. So I always say, no, I have a gas can. Let's put a couple of gallons in, then we'll get you back going. But there's the gentleman yesterday, I told him on the back of your driver's license, if you ever need a motorist assist or anything, or you're female with children or anybody with children on the side of the highway, just look at the back. There's a 1-800 number, and it takes you to the nearest DPS communications, and they will call a trooper out to help you out.
Just make sure you don't have any warrants.
Yeah, at least
when
get some.
Do that.
Yeah. Let's see. Do I have warrants or not?
Stolen car. Yeah.
But no, they'll get us out there. We'll get our lights on. We can either help you change a tire, or get a tow truck out there for vehicles inoperable.
Behind and the backside of every driver's license, there's a 800
Texas
number.
driver's
license.
There's a
pretty good.
Nobody really knows about that. But so that's with the holidays are over, there's this time between Christmas and New Year's. What do you call it? It's like you're still kind of
the dead zone.
It is. You don't know who you are, what you're doing, what are you supposed to say, happy whatever or happy New Year. But
we're in that.
Yeah, there's a song. I love it.
we're there, and I guess the new one is going to be New Year's Eve, the amateur night. But as anything, the traveling is huge and busy. So main thing is slow down, especially in bad weather. You have the big blizzards in the Midwest. So if you're traveling out of state, make sure you check your tires, check your windshield wipers, make sure they're good to go. Eliminating distractions, that's the big one with your mobile devices. Hand your phone to a passenger or somebody else to check your messages or type in the GPS. It is against the law to send or receive text messages, but it's not against the law to type in your navigation system. Are they both equal in amount of danger? Of course they are. So any distraction would take your eyes off the road. Try not to do that and have somebody else help you. If not, just pull over to the side.
So I can just say, hey, I was on my GPS.
Exactly. Yeah. When you run in the back of an 18-wheeler and somebody else,
then
you can't speak anymore.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, does it?
The guy in the car 5 cars back said, yeah, he was on his GPS.
Drive defensively, because the holidays bring out the worst in everybody. We had the guy the other day in the road rage incident in Temple that pointed a gun at a child and chased him.
Oh my gosh.
They chased him from the Temple through Troy, through I think Lorena. They spiked his tires, and he was driving on the rims, doing your typical car chase thing. I mean, convicted felon with a firearm. They're out there. He was out and free. He should have been in a cage, but he was not. Our system let him out. What do? Gets another gun pointed at a child like this one over here.
Really?
And so it was busy holiday weekend. That's just another thing with defensively. Road rage has gotten so bad, and it's not just during the holidays. It's the stats. Remember, I did a deal a couple years ago on y'all's show about road rage, and the stats back then were like 32% end in gunfire.
Yeah.
It's actually in the 40s now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It went up.
More and more people will kill you over a turn signal, not using a turn signal or something. And it's just something happens to somebody when they get behind the wheel and they get enraged. I mean, we all get, somebody cuts you off. We all have some colorful things we want to say, but they don't do it on purpose on the most time. And a lot of times they're distracted on the phone. They're not paying attention. So just be careful. Somebody points a gun at you. Don't engage. Call 911 immediately. Get some information on. We can get them, chase them until they stop,
and then talk about their mama.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to ask you: does the have the DUI stats, have they gone down some since the Uber and the Lyft?
Surprise! Oh yeah, absolutely. So I always thought you're going to talk about because of the lack of troopers out on the roadway anymore because we're doing other tasks on the border. Yeah, it's a good thing because in the 90s and 2000s, before that ever existed, we didn't have the Uber and Lyft, and people say, well, I'm too drunk to walk. I got to drive home. So what they do, they get in the car and they either end up arrested or dead or kill somebody else. So, and Uber and Lyft and all these rideshare programs, they're very inexpensive, and people spend so much at a bar, have a couple $100 bar tab, and sometimes depends on where you live, it could be $10 to $20 to get you home safely. I mean, so who wouldn't want that? But yeah, we've seen a lot of that.
Good point. Is it down because of Uber and Lyft, with a mix of you guys being
honestly,
too busy?
I remember being out on patrol looking for DWIs. We found a lot of drunks, but they were always in the back seat or in the passenger seat because we had the whole education about designated drivers and getting people to do the right thing. It's really worked, and more safety and education with PSAs and just getting out on the radio like this and talking about and pushing stories out in the media where people have been killed and hurt and arrested for DWIs. Nobody wants that. I mean, your first DWI is going to cost you $15,000 if you live. If you don't, end up hurting or killing somebody, end up in prison. You may have never written a hot check or stolen anything in your life, but you make one bad choice at a party, go out and hurt or kill somebody.
Looking at 20 years.
Yeah. Absolutely. And nobody wants that.
And that's still a better case scenario sometimes.
The roads are full. We had I just saw on the news yesterday where I used to work up in Cleveland, Glen Rose area. There was a family of 7 from India. They're here. Some were here visiting their family from India, and there were kids involved. And there were 6 out of the 7 did not survive. Some fool was passing in a no passing zone, and then
that's going to happen quite frequently.
Family. Yeah, how do you survive that? I don't know. That poor family. It was a horrible story. But those are the kind of things we see. Just not. I don't think they were drinking, but they just did something stupid because they wanted to pass
in a hurry,
passing zone in a hurry. And I've seen it, and I always wonder why in the world would you? It's like playing Russian roulette. Why would you do it? You can't see. I had a guy pass me the other day around a hill. I was in my truck, of course. Wouldn't have done it if I was in my patrol car, but up a hill around a curve, and I just slowed down and moved over so he would get around me before somebody coming around the poor SOB coming around that corner. runs into that person, and
blink of an eye.
it's over with. Yeah, and all because they were in a hurry. But
Sad.
also, speaking of wrecks, if you do travel to a major area and the traffic's heavy, if you get into a minor crash with no injuries, make sure you steer to clear it as Texas law or move it off the roadway. That way it doesn't cause second, third, fourth crashes and all the backup. Gets the roadways clear.
If you can.
If you can.
Yeah.
If your vehicle's drivable and there are no injuries.
Otherwise, get out of the road anyway. Get your body out of the road. Yeah.
So what else do you want to talk about? We got to talk about the border. Remember, we always kind of mention it. It's always bad.
Yeah.
It's actually now
it's
worse.
It's beyond
than it's ever been.
Chaos.
You know, putting some notes together and stuff in the last few weeks and just kind of keeping up with it. It's horrible because people think, oh, it's just a few people coming over here to work. Let me tell you, doing the research in the early 1980s, annually about 200,000 Mexican nationals crossed, and they were from Mexico, mostly here to work during the harvest seasons. Then they'd go back. Now we have, in the last 3 years, over 13 million, 12 to 13 million. They say it's got to be much higher than that. I think
those are the ones they caught, or the one including
those are the ones that they assume that are here. But
Okay.
these are people coming from 171 different countries: Bangladesh, Cuba, Venezuela, Mideast, Syria, Iran. They're not here to work. They're not here to go back.
They're not
home.
going to assimilate. No.
A lot of these countries are here to do us harm. Nobody knows. They have no ID. They're just letting them in. And this year is going to be a border. This month, if December 2023 is going to be a record of over 300,000 apprehensions, not the ones that didn't get apprehended. So you got to think, to each person that's apprehended, how many got through? 4, 5, 6, 10, 20? We don't know because it's wide open. So it's an absolute failure on our governments. That's what they're supposed to do, is have a secure border.
Now, Governor Abbott signed a law that takes effect in March.
And before the ink was even dry, our own country was suing us, saying, no, that's not a good thing.
ACLU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the government's suing them? Washington suing Abbott?
They immediately filed the suit that day or the following day. But what he had signed in effect was making state law where troopers and Texas peace officers, if they see a group of people crossing over the river at the border, to be able to stop them, detain them, and question them to obtain whether they're here illegally or not. I mean,
what are they going to say?
And for one, it's not even our job to be doing that. We're not even supposed to be there. And that's what really upsets me, is because these troopers are supposed to be in their home areas working traffic enforcement, saving people from getting themselves killed out here. Because our fatality rate's up in the 4,000s now annually, when it used to be in the 3.
Wow.
And I think when you put...
That's because you're all down south.
Yeah.
Right?
And then you put 500-600 troopers down there. They're not stopping 10-20 cars a day. The ripple effect is... you people weren't seatbelts, are not getting stopped. Your speeders not slowing down. Your drunk drivers not getting off the road. Your criminals are not getting apprehended. So it affects everybody. And then, the state of Texas has spent $9 billion of your tax dollars and mine on this problem. And the feds are spending $151 billion annually. So we're always talking about, this couple $100 million to Ukraine. There are people getting so upset about. That's a drop in the bucket from what we're spending here, when it shouldn't be that way. And the border wall, the wall, it's a deterrent. It's not as effective as one would think, because they cut holes in it. All it does is funnel them into a certain checkpoint area where they could cross illegally. And now, which it works if you built the wall, which only would be $15 billion. They said to build it. But instead, we're spending $151 billion annually. The wall will just keep them and funnel them into an area and where they could be apprehended. But now if we did build it, all it would do is funnel them to an area, and we just bring them in anyway, and they stay here. We give them money, put them on places like New York. You saw what his name, Eric Adams, is that his name? The mayor of New York. He signed an order that we have to give 32-hour notice or something, but he's gotten 4,000 or more in his city. And
4,000.
Well, it is
as opposed to 300,000.
I think 4,000 a week, as opposed to the millions that we're getting. We're overwhelmed. We don't know what to do with them, so we have to put them in. These are sanctuary cities, and by design, that's what they are saying. So, hey, if you're here illegally, you could stay here. But even they didn't predict this, and it's not New York, the citizens of New York's responsibility for their tax dollars to spend.
Well, it's not ours
millions and millions to house these people, and it is inhumane. These people living on the streets, are living in the horrible conditions. People, I think these are not animals coming across; they're human beings. There's kids involved, like the size of her. It's sad that we enable, and that our country is promoting this activity and behavior, and there's many getting killed along the way. So
it doesn't sound like there's a fix to it.
There is a fix. There is a fix, and that's the thing.
Well, there's not going to be a fix at least for another 11 months.
Well, and that's even then. So by then, you got to think, say 200,000 a month. That's a low number, times however more months until anything changes. But Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas went to Mexico to ask for their help, so they can.
That was a dog and pony show. Come on.
In Mexico, what do they say to us? They're like, "Get out of here."
It's your problem.
They're
not
like,
ours.
"You need to strengthen your relations with Cuba and Venezuela." I mean, they're not gonna. They don't care. They're releasing their prisoners because they're running out of money. And guess where they're coming? They're coming here.
Yep.
They are. They say they're low offenders, but they're still supposed to be in prison.
He only killed 3 people, not 5.
Yeah. So you got to think, out of say 13 million people here in the last 3 years, it would be safe to say maybe a half dozen are criminals, and they're going to do something bad to somebody here. But there's always illegal immigration, but it's never been at this level. This is something that's it's non-sustainable, because every time they do, every one person that comes here, we now have they're our responsibility to pay for and house and feed.
Well,
not to mention the emergency rooms. There was a doctor on the radio the other day talking about what she is seeing and the overwhelming in these large cities, the sicknesses and illnesses these people are coming over with.
Not to mention no room for anybody that needs a ER.
It is. It's very sad. It's very eye-opening. And if somebody, I know you're not your listeners, they're all well informed, but if they know people who have no idea what's going on, like my mom, I talked to her about this in Germany. These Germans have no clue this is going on. They're like, "Oh, y'all are mean. You should let everybody in." Okay, well, would Germany allow that? Look what's happened to them in the last 20 years.
Yep.
What's going on?
And there's going to be a moment in time, unfortunately, pretty soon, I fear, that there's going to be a lot of "I told yous."
Yeah, and and even under the Obama administration, when we had a very weak enforcement of the border, that was when I was down there working it and talking to the Border Patrol agents. Then they're like, "Yeah, our president now is we're just kind of just letting some in, letting some out, whatever." But it was average 6 per year during the Obama administration that they apprehended people that were on the terrorist watch list. Just this year, how many we got just in 2023 that were on the watch list?
It's over 70, isn't it?
294.
294 in a
Those are the ones that were apprehended, not the ones that got through.
Wow.
So you got to think, when these war age fighting men are coming across and you get 4 million, 10 million, 20 million in the next 10 years, what are they going to do?
You think at least.
You ever heard the story about the Trojan horse?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if I was a country who wanted to hurt people here, and when they had an open border, I'd be like, "Hey, all you guys get over there, and we give the signal, y'all do some bad things." I mean, look what just happened December 7th over in Israel.
Yep.
Bad stuff happens.
Coming to a town near you.
It is.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
I know. It's always gloom and doom.
Now you got to wrap it up with some good news.
Oh man, my kid has like 9 days left in the Army.
Ah, good.
Yeah,
nice.
he starts the police academy the day after he gets out. So,
no vacation for him. Wow.
I told him to be a fireman.
Not following in your footsteps, then. Huh?
Well, he's well, he has to become a cop first before he can be a vacation. But no, I'm proud of him. I told him it is not the law enforcement that I got into 25 years ago.
Yeah, that's a different world out there.
I said you better have a thick skin, because I worry about them, just because the society, the people in the society, with the way they look at law enforcement now, and
a thankless job nowadays.
And and it always really never has been a thankful job, but the majority of people, there's still a lot of good people out there, but there's so much more of things that he'll have to encounter that we didn't back then. I mean, just the negativity on Facebook and social media, when there's an officer involved shooting. And I always look at the comments when I push out these press releases. I just did one the other day in Killeen, and looking at the nonsense these people spew, it's so horrible. And that's like, I want to just sit down with them for 2 minutes and say, what you have kids on your profile picture, but you're so thankful that an officer was shot or something like that. It's like, you'd be calling, that officer would put their life on the line for not only you, but for your kid.
Yeah.
Well, at least your son somehow, I guess, in a way, was maybe inoculated since he was in the Army. He got at least he got some mud on his britches.
I told him, I said, you thought the infantry was rough. I said, wait till you get out into society and have to wear this uniform or a uniform, and people are going to look at you just by when you showing up, mere presence of the ones that don't want to see you.
Yeah.
I said, just be ready.
That's gonna be rough.
There are good people that need to be out there that do this job and help serve and protect. And like I said, we're always hiring. DPS is hiring. We have a mass amount of retirements because the old fogies are getting out. And one day soon, I will
I
too.
bet they can't hit that door
I know
fast
they're
enough.
so excited
Yeah.
too, and it's always good when I see like one of my classmates their retirement announcement. I'm like, oh wow, we had like 4 already retire out of my class, and a lot of them were older, so they hit that over 50 mark, and they had maybe some previous state time, and they got out and they're doing other things as civilian.
Yeah.
But it is a fun job, even as a young officer. You go out there and you see some amazing things, get to help a lot of folks, and it is a front row to a circus,
So right out of the academy, the 0-day babies end up with what, 70K, at least 70K a year?
For us, yeah, starting out in the academy, and then when you get out
in the academy,
yeah, when you get a pretty good bump when you graduate, and then after your 1 year, you get a heck of a bump.
Yeah. Okay, Casey and I were talking about this a while back, but unfortunately, y'all do those psych evals.
Yeah.
And that kind of,
and you have to run and do push-ups.
Have to run.
Then.
Oh, you are not.
We did like 20-something miles a week, so that's why I walked out of there so underweight. It was horrible. It was not a good look. I was so emaciated because you only ate this much food, but they burned that many calories, and it was.
So what do you slam, about 3K in calories a day while you're in the academy?
They've improved the diet in the last 20 years. When I was there,
you had to eat what
I love the food there.
I could do that in breakfast.
I love the food there, maybe it's because I was so hungry, but they've actually changed it up a little bit and got a little better nutritional value. But when we were there, it was more of a punish you and let's see how far we can push them until they.
Oh yeah, that's their job, is to break you and build you back up. Yeah,
it's like any. If you can survive that, it's a
mind game.
It's just a mere practice for what you have to deal with in society, because it's not a training environment in the real world. When you have to get up at 2 a.m. and go to a fatality crash, and then you have to go notify the family, and they would wake us up 2, 3 a.m, take a spelling test, and just kind of stress us out, go back to sleep, then wake us back up to PT. But it's fun. It's if you have the desire to do it and it's in your blood, you'll do it.
And they can just go to the
or you could be a fireman, grow a cool mustache, and sleep all day.
That's right.
And wait for a call.
Yeah.
I told him to do that, but no, he won't listen. That's my kid. He don't listen much.
If that's what he wants to do, you ain't gonna talk him out of it anyway.
I'll be pretty proud of him when he graduates.
All right. Well, you want to stick around and play a game with little Paisley here?
Yeah.
We got Paisley in the studio.
And she is a talker.
She is a nonstop. That's what I said. If Casey ever walks out on the show, I'm taking Paisley as a co-host.
Cool. Yeah, Paisley, you going to be co-host?
Yeah.
Yeah? How old are you, Paisley?
I'm 8.
8 years old. Did you just turn 8?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you got a little.
We had a great conversation about bullies and everything earlier.
Well, she had a conversation about bullies.
Yeah. And which is good because she don't want to hear my opinion on that. She's too young. I said earmuffs. Earmuffs, kid.
She didn't slow down enough for you to put your input in anyway. All right. We're going to play a little game here coming up next with Paisley and Sergeant Washko, Texas DPS. 8:34 now. 8:34 already. Wow. Okay. And coming up, we're going to play a game of what is it, Casey?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, I knew you would know.
I sent it to you.
We're gonna talk about bullies.
No, yeah, we'll talk about
bullies.
No, he's gonna tell you to list something, and you list these items, as many as you can think of, and whoever gets the most that are on the list.
Okay, we're gonna make it up as we go.
Yeah.
It sounds like
this girl's gonna win.
she got up early. She's ready for this. All right, 8:34, 26 before 9 at Mix Online. Your hits from the 80s, 90s, and today. Good morning.